So immediately, I couldn't wait for me to finish my third year. And immediately when I was done with my third year, the only thing I wanted was Johannesburg. So at the time, I had a boyfriend who was working at Port Elizabeth, and we were busy sitting together, plotting, putting strategies together that, okay, fine, he's got people in Joburg that he knows. I didn't have people because I had not started working. So he spoke to a friend of his, Ufundiswa Zigoxo, who was already in Johannesburg in her professional sector doing her things. And he asked her to accommodate me coming to Joburg. And Fundiswa agreed. And I remember taking the first flight out of coming to Johannesburg. Fundiswa came to pick me up. And I went to stay at Sunnyside Park. Those flats were called Sunnyside Park in Sunnyside in Pretoria. Now it's the Holiday Inn, I think. It's been converted into a hotel. That's where I got to stay. I was on the 12th floor. I remember when I came, I was like, this building is so long. I've never seen such a building that's so long and it's flats. And we got into this space. It was a 1-bedroom flat. So the main bedroom, that's where she was sleeping. I would sleep on a slipper couch, a front. And every day I was looking for a job. And I came across an agency, a recruitment agency, that I spoke to a lady by the name of Jackie that was the consultant. And Jackie just fell in love with my bubbly personality. She was like, there's something about you. Like, you're so bubbly, you're so talkative. The gift of speaking has always been there, trust me. And my bubbly personality and the way I spoke landed me an interview, and I came to Joburg. So I was working in Joburg, staying in Pretoria. So I drove with her. I woke up that morning. We drove together. I went to my interview. And at the interview, I was told that I got the job. And I got my very first job as a teleshow consultant. What does it mean? I was working at a call center and people were getting insurance through me. Yes, with my marketing. Because I always believed that you start somewhere, and where I was coming from, the foundation that you are given at home, my grandfather always used to say, zenzele, meaning do it for yourself. And that stuck with me for the longest time, because you would swear that I got a job as a marketing manager when I got the job as an agency in a call center environment. And I enjoyed that space. Joburg for me, the first thing I noticed about this city was that everything was moving so fast. Everything, there's a spirit that is about go-getting, like hustle up, do your thing. I just blended in, stayed in Sunnyside. I did not like Pretoria from day one. That place was hot, hot, hot. And the people are dark. And I was like, where am I, really? And I didn't like it, but I had no choice. I had to start somewhere. So when I got the job, I moved and I came to stay in a guest house in Randburg, Pine Avenue. The name of the guest house is Swiss Guest House. I think it's still there. So I stayed there. And I would go to work from there and then come back to work. End of the month when I get paid, then I started buying like 4 plates, 4 cups, because I was preparing myself. I had a vision that from here, I'm going to rent a flat. But at home, you are always taught that start collecting things when you still don't have a place if you are working. So that is what I was doing. I was collecting where I was. And I would look forward to month end where we get paid. And obviously on a Friday, if you get paid on a Friday, we are hitting the streets, man. We are hitting the streets. We are out there partying in Rosebank. Rosebank was the place that we really, really loved going to. There was a club called Capital. And after payday, you know that you've got your entertainment money. You go as a group with my colleagues and we would drink and we would party and we would have fun. But out of all that moment of me partying, I'm a visionary. I always used to look on and I would ask questions. What's happening? How do people get to come to the club? How come everyone is here on a Friday? There's a DJ playing. How do you get the DJ to come? And I didn't realize at the time that I was actually doing my research on how to start my side hustle. And then I started speaking to my colleagues that, you know what, with the information that I got, that it's an event organizer or an event coordinator that puts together those gigs that we actually go and spend money on. I told my friends, guys, I can do this. I've studied marketing. Then the second time we went to Capital, I asked for the numbers of the owner. His name was George. I think George was from Portugal or Italy. George was a foreign white man in South Africa. Charmer, very welcoming. And I called him and I said I wanted a meeting with him. And one day after work, before going home, because you go past Randburg before you go past Rosebank before you get to Randburg, I stopped there and I had coffee with him and I said, look, I would love to do events here. So how much will you charge me to do events? And he said, look, I take 70% of the door, you take 30%. If you believe that you've got a crowd and you can pull it off, because for me, I felt like, no, my salary was not enough. I need more money. And that's when I started the entrepreneur side of me coming out. And I said to George, okay, fine, George, give me 3 months. I will bring a crowd. I will take the last Friday of the month. That's when I want to do an event. And I'll organize my own DJs. Then he gave me DJ Dimple's number. May his soul rest in peace. He said, this is the DJ that we use for hip hop. It was DJ Dimples and DJ Libby. They both late, interestingly. May both of them, your soul rest in peace. And I spoke to Libby. Libby's price was too expensive for me. Then I spoke to Dimples. Dimples at the time, I paid him 1,000 Rand. And then luckily a friend of mine that I had, Kamchelo was friends with Lula Cafe. Lula Cafe way before Metro FM and what he's doing now. And I spoke to Lula. We sat down with Lula. I was paying Lula 1,000 Rand. And then I put together the event. We started putting together a poster. I remember Gamo was a graphic designer. Gamo took a picture of me and he put together the poster. We got the date. The way I was so nervous. What if people don't turn up? And that was the first time I came across Facebook. Gamo taught me Facebook. And he said, look, we need to have an account for you on Facebook. This is where you're going to market your event. We posted the picture of Pandora's box management, and the first event, I could not believe my eyes. People turned up. Lula Cafe showed up. Dimples showed up. I made money, but the bad thing about it is that when you are doing the events, you can't drink as much as you normally do, because number one, you are watching your profits at the door. I need to make sure that I constantly go back to the door to see that the people that, the hostesses that are at the door, they're doing the right thing. And that was my very, very first event that I did in Joburg. And it was a success. I got extra cash. But you become the last person to leave the club because you have to stay behind with the owner and count the money. So I got a cut from the door, which was my 30%. Then I asked George, so many people bought drinks, like bottles, people that came through me. And he said, no, the bar belongs to me. That's when I started negotiating with him. The second time we did the event, the second month, the third month, and I could see now the numbers are growing. People are buying. Then I went back and we restructured and I said, George, let's do a review. You are making more money on drinks than before. We have to cut the bar. We have to share the bar. And George was like, no, Pandora, no one ever gets the bar. I'm like, you're already taking 70% of my door and I'm only getting 30% and I'm pulling the crowd here. And he said, okay, fine. I'll give you 10% off the bar. And I started making more money. That is how Pandora's Box Management was born. I started doing events. So I had a 9 to 5. Every day I'm in the office. I am working at a call center. I am in a happy space. I'm a happy kid. Over the weekend, I'm busy planning what is the next theme for our events, because you must remember that when you're doing work, extra work, hustle job, it also requires sacrifice. So I started cutting down on my party life for me to ensure that my parties were becoming the parties in Joburg. And it was a success for a very long time until life happened again. I had this job at this call center, and now the money is coming in. I'm making money in a club at the end of the month, on the last Friday of the month. And look, I was securing the bag. But there was something that I was lacking at that time. That was financial literacy. I didn't know how to handle money. I didn't have the background on what to do with money. As much as I could save and I could manage it in my own understanding, I believe that if I had more like financial literacy, I would have done extremely well. So now I'm making more money and I wanted more. And I was like, but that's what I came to Joburg for. I started looking at my job and I'm like, I'm in a call center. I'm a marketing graduate. I deserve better. I gotta go and get better. While I was there, when I'm working, in between I was applying for other jobs, and I got an interview and I left the call center, and from the call center I could move to be a personal assistant in a telecommunications company for a CEO, and my salary was actually double. And I moved closer to where I was staying, which was Randburg at the time. I accepted the offer. Now from call center to a PA to a CEO in a telecommunication. It was Red Sox Communication, the name of the company that I used to work for. Very small team, very fun. Because I was the only woman there, I was treated like an egg that must not break. And I used to love the attention. It was calmer. There was no pressure of chasing targets like the call center. And I started realizing that there's actually better to life when you go and knock at those doors and actually take a leap of faith for your dreams and what you want. And now I could plan my events as well. So I still kept the hustle on. During the week, I'm at work, I'm doing my thing. On end of the month, I'm throwing my events. And I remember George and we had a fallout because we did not make enough money at the bar. And George felt like I don't deserve my 10% because clearly I didn't market well the event. And then out of my ego and my pride, I was like, you know what? I am Pandora's box in Joburg. I am going to take my business elsewhere. I went to Taboo. Biggest regret of my life. I said to Kamo, let's take this business elsewhere. Let's show George what we can do. We went to Taboo. We did the last hour event at Taboo. We did not get a good turn up. I did not make the money that I would make at Capital. And I had to go back and humble myself and say, George, I made a mistake. I'm here to ask for forgiveness. Can we restructure? Can we forgive each other and move forward? And I continue with my events. George was a man with a big heart. And he used to call me little black girl. And he said, little black girl, this is Joburg. Now you've learned your lesson. Talking about Jimmy comes to Joburg. And George brought me back in. I was still very consistent, keeping Lulo Cafe, keeping Dimples. And I had more DJs now coming to me wanting to play. And when you are on that level where people are coming to you and asking to play at your gigs, I told them I didn't have a budget for them and they were willing for exposure. Then I used to have a bigger lineup now of DJs. And we had a more bigger audience of people following because I was being consistent with it. And from there, I wanted more. From Red Sox, I was like, where can I go? Where can I go? I need another job. I need to make more money. And I need to get to a space where I will actually do what I love, which is marketing. And I moved to Old Mutual. There was a time I was an executive PA to the CEO in Old Mutual, a division that was called Housing Investment Partners under Old Mutual. I worked there and I served there and I enjoyed being there. That position, the pressure it came with, there were boards that were reporting to. When you're an executive PA to a CEO of an organization of that caliber, you need to understand that there are board packs. You sit on the board of directors meetings. You sit on the trustees meetings. You are actually the cornerstone of that business. You advise the CEO. Everything starts with you and everything ends with you. It taught me order. It taught me structures. It taught me that in business, there are protocols. And I took that and I applied that in my own business, which was Pandora's Box Management. Now, in Pandora's Box, I could have an accountant that is looking after my books. I could have someone who is a project manager, because during the week now the pressure is more on my side, because now I'm not just a PA in a small company, I'm a PA in a big organization, which is Old Mutual. Other executives that are sitting on our board, whenever they're looking for things, the first person they call is me. So the more I was having pressure, the more I needed to extend my business as well. And I was getting more money where I was at my job, and I was injecting that money to pay my team. And I continued this way. And that is where Pandora, the entrepreneur, and saying that I am here to dig my gold. And I kept digging my gold, and I was making it. My events were getting packed. I was building new relationships with new people. I became this social buzz. When people from Cape Town are coming to visit in Joburg, they're calling me, when is your event? And I was not too greedy. I was just doing the last Friday of the month, because my strategy was, that's when people get paid. And that is when people get to spend more money. And George and I, we kept working beautifully together, and I was just banking it and smiling all the way to the bank. I was securing the bag. But in the midst of the fast lane, in the midst of that life always happens. There are always consequences, depending how fast are you running. And at that time, I'm not praying, I'm not going to church. Automatically, I'm thinking that I am the one who's making things happen. I am the Pandora's Box. I am that confident little girl. My confidence became on another level. Even the way I would walk, you would see that, yeah, jail. Because I was like, no one is doing what I'm doing. And those were the best days of my life, because did I not only grow in corporate, but I also grew my business. I was able to start, because life is not about you dreaming and never starting. It's about starting. Just start. Do not be afraid. And I took that leap of faith. And then after 2 years, I was with Old Mutual. I was like, I want more. And all I was looking for a position that's going to say, now you're in the marketing division. Now you are doing what you have studied for. So ever since I've been in Joburg, I have not been in a space where I was doing what I studied for. But hey, you start somewhere. And with each and every position that I had, it was a chapter that was required in my life in order for it to strengthen my own business. And I'm grateful that I became wiser during that time. But when you become wiser, there are certain things you are looking for to stabilize life. Because for me, I was on the fast lane. I was on the fast lane that it's all about work hard, play hard. Work hard, play hard. I was exposed to cocaine. I befriended people that were doing cocaine. Have I tried cocaine? Yes, I've tried it once. And I said, no, this thing doesn't work for me. This thing doesn't. And that is the time where I felt, okay, my career and my business is more important. And when you are in the entertainment industry, you become exposed to everything and anything. There is no stone that is not unturned. People kept on telling me, but for the work that you're doing, remember you're in a club, you're here until morning, this is your pick-me-up. That is how cocaine was introduced to me. This is your pick-me-up. When you do cocaine, you don't want to sleep. Yes, it's true. I tried it once and I didn't sleep, but I didn't like the feeling of it. I was like, no, Pandora, this is not the way you are raised. These are not things that you should get involved in. And I'm always grateful for my gut feeling and my intuition, because it always guides. It just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right for me. And I continued what I was doing. And when I was with Old Mutual for about 2.5 years, and they changed the CEO, I spoke to my boss and I told him who I am, my new boss, and what are my dreams. I would love for them to put me in a marketing position. He tried his best, it didn't happen, and I was applying for jobs. Boom, L'Oreal happened. Professional Products Division. I went there for the interview, and you know when they say, when something is yours, it's yours. I got there and the GM told me I had 10 other candidates that I've interviewed. But after interviewing you, all I can say is that the job is yours. I felt like I have arrived. I felt like I had finally achieved. Here I am doing what I studied for. And I got into L'Oreal. And when I got into L'Oreal, it's the glitz, it's the glam, it's the heels, it's the makeup, it's the postures, it's who we think we are. We were number one cosmetic company in the world. So we had every right to be proud the way we were. But while I was there, speaking was happening. I was doing talks while I'm there. And I said to myself, I would love to do speaking more than my 9 to 5. And for me, it was about how many lives am I impacting. Every time I would go and speak on weekends, the response that I was getting from my audience, media started coming after me, wanting to interview me. People wanted my story. Midrun Reporter wanted to publish my story. Magazines wanted, Successful Woman magazine wanted my story. Every woman wanted a piece of me. And from there were life decisions that were hard that I had to make. In the midst of this, climbing the corporate ladder, building my business, guess what? Life happened, because life always happens.